Check this out, 2014 Chevy Equinox. It's a sweet unit. A friend calls me, let me know there's some oil leaking, mostly really around this passenger side, kind of inside of the wheel, was leaving puddles. And I got to look at it. My first step, I degreased all this area, sprayed it all off, got it clean. Can't really see much from the top. So I went ahead and I popped the air box out, which is kind of a waste of time, really. Just trying to check this area. You see this top looks pretty dry. I noticed the belt was slinging some stuff on some of these hoses. So my number one suspect is down here on the crankshaft. There's a seal. If the seal leaks, it gets on the belt slings it, makes a real mess. So the next step would be jack it up, use a jack stand to be safe, pull the wheel, pull this cover right here, a couple little clips, very simple, standard, no biggie. And then remember, I cleaned this one pretty good, right? And then I let it run a few minutes. You can really already see all this area is wet where I couldn't hose it, and the main source is right here. So I did run it, and I got to see a little bit of a trail coming down from the center of that crankshaft. You may call it the harmonic balancer, but you know, there's not really a whole lot of weight to it, so I'd consider it more of a crank pulley. It's been slinging all over here. The belt's kind of gummy, so the belt's shot. Really simple. I haven't done one of these, but done a lot of other stuff. Rear mains, crankshaft pulleys, whatever. The overall job is going to be to pull this bolt. Your best bet is to have an impact. If you have an impact, you can blast that off. If you don't, then you're trying to get that off with a ratchet or a breaker bar. It's hard to hold the engine still. So if you don't have an impact gun, you really don't have a lot of business doing this job. I'm going to get that bolt loose right off the bat. Then once I get the bolt loose, I'll go after this tensioner. So we're just going to pull that belt. You can see that's all a mess. That tensioner has that square drive for a 3/8 ratchet or breaker bar that'll help me pull the belt. When I go to start these, I always like to reference which way the belt runs. So you're running from crankshaft, AC compressor. It goes up, and there's something on the top. I think that's the alternator pulley there on the top, down from the alternator pulley and under that tensioner, and we're back to the crankshaft. So they're usually fairly easy to figure out, but just in case. And looks like this is gonna be no big deal. They got it $10 cheap one or a $25 kit from Felpro, so I'm gonna go grab the kit and I'll show you how this goes. Okay, so in the case that you have these same wheels, it's 22 millimeters. This crankshaft pulley bolt is a 21. No biggie. I don't necessarily need to pull it out all the way because I don't really want the pulley trying to flop off while the belt is on there, but I do recommend doing that before we take the belt off. It's just less likely for this to try to spin. And now I'm gonna get the belt off, which may be a little tough to show. And for anybody who does this professional, skip this part. But if you're DIY and you're trying to save money, when your oil leaks can be difficult to pinpoint. So that's why I recommend the cleanup. If you're not gonna try to pinpoint it and you're just gonna do the seal because it's a common issue, no judgment. But you'll see this whole metal side of the engine. We'd say the side, it's really the front, but you know, from our perspective, we're looking at it. That has a gasket around it. That's the front timing cover. That could leak, but they don't usually leak in this manner where they're going to be slinging oil. We've also got our oil pan down here, and that could leak. Neither of which would really explain oil getting up into this area and then running onto the pulley, getting on the belt and slinging all over. There's oil slung all over the place in here. So it's kind of just the nature of what the leak looks like that's telling me it's that seal, and I'm very confident on this one. But yours may vary. The way to fix an oil leak is not to find out what people are doing on YouTube and then just replace those parts. You should really try to pinpoint yours. Your giveaway is going to be looking right in there. Okay, so verify that before you do this fix. Now let me get this belt coming off. All right, so 3/8 ratchet. use the ratchet of your choice, but something like this is going to be good for me. And then you can see, not the DIY guy, but I'm DIYing this baby. Here we go. All right, take a peek. That ratchet is up in that square hole. This is very normal. And then you go to do it, we're going to have to turn counterclockwise. Now I'm going to pull this counterclockwise, and I'm just going to slip the belt off while it's got slack. Can't really do that while holding the phone. No big deal. Slip it off. Wiggle the ratchet around. And the belt will be off right now. Belt's super gummy. Totally trashed from oil contamination. If you look, it just folds right over. It's shot. And then, as you can see, now easier to pull this. A little bit of oil may come out. It shouldn't be much if there is some oil. So, put a little towel, put a little drain pan, something like that. Okay, so this bolt is going to be a critical torque. I haven't looked up the specs yet, but this is something you're probably going to want to, torque to spec. Some things you get away with just snugging them up, but I don't know that I do that one. And as you can see, that crank pulley is going to be very easy as we pull this out. And just a minimal amount of oil. So what you got to do next, I want you to look at this. The flat spots on the crankshaft that you can see there, those drive the oil pump. So if there's anything damaged there, we need to know. In here, where my thumb is, that's the hub where the seal rides. So if there's any defects on this pulley, especially defects that you cause trying to fight this thing out, and I've seen people try to wedge stuff and do all kinds of crap. You score this, you need to replace it. If this surface down here gets scored, it's going to kill every seal you put in it. And then, as you can see, get a good look. That's our culprit here. Get my light magneted on. Get you in a nice spot here. Nice HD view. That black part is our seal. Actually, the internals you can see are actually the oil pump. So when we go to put that pulley back on, we're going to have to be mindful of lining up those flat spots. But this seal will be very easy to pull, but when we do so, we cannot score this housing. You could probably do it with a screwdriver, but that's what I do for a living, so I have a seal puller. But again, no judgment if you don't have the tools. You could even shoot a Phillips screw if you're very careful into this seal and then tug it out by the screw. So let me grab my seal puller. All right, so this is a seal puller for your reference. Like I said, a lot of ways to do this, but that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to hook it on the lip of the seal. Be sure that I'm not right on that front cover, that I'm not going to score it. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to move it a little bit. I felt like I was close. I'm just going to walk it out. Okay. No biggie. Wipe this little bit of oil just to help myself keep clean. And here is, let's see, wipe a little more. Here's that old seal. This is not a really hard job. It's just, if you've never done it, you could use a little help. So that's our bad boy right there. Typical seal failure is this lip right here, those little ridges. That lip is designed to flex and push up against that pulley hub that I showed you where we can't have scoring. It's designed to push up against that hub, and they just wear out, lose tension. It's a typical failure. Front crankshaft seal, rear main, cam seals, all the same type of an idea. Now I called ahead. This is a $25 kit. I'm going to get the belt. They have it pulled for me, so let me go grab these parts. Okay, here's the kit. This is the seal. Seal has a protective sleeve in it. It's pretty typical. It's actually a little tricky to get out, but the main purpose of that is to protect that lip in there. I was also thinking, if I can, I might actually use it to help drive it. Otherwise, the kind of the unofficial protocol is to find a socket that fits. So that socket's actually a little small, and that's a pretty big socket too, so that might be a little bit of an issue for some people. Otherwise, the seal driver is the real by the book fix. Yeah, so that one's pretty close, but also actually a little small. I think this plastic cover is going to help me do this job. And so the job is drive the seal nice and flat. The outside surface has a coating that should seal to the housing. The inside surface, I'm going to keep this cover in if I can until I'm done, and then I may put just a little bit of oil on that lip seal. So let's get a little bit of a feel for this. And the go-to for me, you could do a regular hammer, but being that I'm trying to do something soft, I'm going to go with a soft blow. If I do try to use this plastic protector to drive it in, sometimes you'll be able to do that, sometimes you won't. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll at least be able to start by doing that. All right, let me get set up. All right, so this is that socket I was showing you. It's one of the bigger sockets. I do have bigger sockets, but they actually overshoot it. So if it's bigger than the seal, you're gonna jam the socket into the cover. It's me no go. What I like to do to get started, get myself where I can see this nice and straight. And I'm just gonna check it out. If there's any dirty, yucky stuff, I can clean it. In fact, I'm gonna clean that oil a little bit better out of there. Give me just one moment. So, I'm actually spraying a little bit of brake clean onto a paper towel. So I want the oil out of that outside surface. Okay. Looking good. And then I'm gonna start by just keeping this thing flat as I can, and pushing it up. And I got a little bit more crooked than I wanted, but I can correct that using the driver. And I know the side that's a little bit high, I have to hit that side in more. Okay, the soft blow is going to be my choice, but that's not now. Change over to a real hammer. And about here, there. I'll lose the extension. Take a quick peek. Like what I'm seeing. Sounds like it just kind of bottomed out. Okay. All right. Now let's have a look. What we got here is pretty nice flush seal. And then, as I was saying, remember our lip in here that you can see is kind of brown. That's going to ride on the balancer, so I want to put a little bit of engine oil. You could grease it too. I may go with some grease. The other option would be just make sure that hub where it rides is got some lube on it. That's going to help. So let me put something on there. All right, so I grabbed a brand new thing of engine oil. I'm going to do an oil change on this as well, which makes sense. So my finger's dripping with nice clean oil. Do a little bit like that. And then I'm ready for the balancer or the crank pulley. Same, just oil that surface up. Take a look right in there. Remember those flat spots? I can see where the oil pump drive is. So I'm going to go straight in line where those flat spots are. Okay. Might be a little bit more of a challenge than I thought. Should be, oh, and the keyway. Oh, that's a little detail. Okay, there's a keyway there. The keyway for me, if you look in here, the actual Woodruff key, you may say, if you look right there at about, what's that, about 9 o'clock, almost missed that little detail. I've done a lot of work like this, never this particular job, so I'm not doing this off of memory or repetition, but I'm walking you through it. A little camera malfunction. So now that I also know that that keyway is at 9, I can line that up better. Okay. And boom, that's the ticket. The next step is that bolt. Now this bolt calls for one-time use, torque to yield. So if you follow the service manual, replace this. If not, I'm going to clean it up. You can consider some Loctite. I've got a fair amount of my own experience, and I've made my mind up. I'm using the bolt again. Now for this torque, I did look it up. I believe it was 100 foot-pounds. I want to double check that, but with these bolts, I'd run it up like this, and I'd nail it down like that. Now, when I get the belt on, I'll come back through with a torque wrench and verify that's at 100. Right now, I'm going to do a little bit more cleanup, and then I'm going to get that belt back on. Brake clean. A little bucket on the bottom. When it's really stubborn like that, you could get a little Scotch-Brite pad, like the backside of a sponge, scrub it up. But I got a paper towel in my hand, so I'm gonna do a little bit of that. And I guess technically you don't have to clean this, but it's really part of the job, in my opinion. When you're done, it shouldn't be questionable whether it's leaking oil or not. So when I'm done, I'm gonna run this, and I'm gonna verify I don't have any more new oil. But also, remember, I'm changing the belt. If I put a brand new belt on these pulleys and these pulleys are all oily, I'm ruining a new belt. So I'm going to also spray all these pulleys, which I'll probably do quite a bit from the top. So you get the AC compressor pulley really good, the crankshaft pulley good. I'll spray the pulleys from the top. And then I'm actually going to be just about ready for the belt. Alright, I cleaned it some more. I cleaned all the pulleys from the top and from the bottom. I think you can figure out how to clean. And now I'm going to try to get this belt into place. Pretty much remember the way it went. Okay, here to here. I got to do a little bit of work from the top, or I could roll under there, and however you see fit is good for me. Definitely got it on the alternator nice. Now, this is where my camera's going to be a pain in the butt, so I may actually do this off screen. We'll see. Now I'm on the alternator. There you go. Okay. So as I throw that tensioner, just slack up and just wrap it around onto that AC compressor. Good to go. Make sure it's on all the pulleys. I'm going to show you that. you can see it's on. You can see it's on. There's the tensioner, alternator. So I just verify it's on all of them, and then take a step back. Time to put some covers on the wheel on. Alright, torque wrench is out. As I looked it up, that was a 100 foot-pound bolt. And yeah, it's probably gonna fight me a little bit. And so there is a way to lock that crankshaft balancer. There's a few different ways. But I'll tell you the truth. If this was mine, I would do exactly this. And I'm good with it. And I know what I got with the gun. And I intended to use the torque wrench. I know that you could go ahead and try to wedge something in there. But to me, it's not worth the risk of trying to wedge up against that front cover. I've seen people break front covers. So that's what I would do, and I do mean that, and I'm sure somebody's got something to say, and you're welcome to say it, but I'm unapologetic for that. So last thing, just button up the cover. Typically the way that those crankshaft locking tools go, you pull the starter motor out, and you put something in place of the starter that engages the flex plate teeth, flywheel, more slang. Some trouble. All right, putting the wheel back on. Don't need to show you how to do that. And then I'm gonna fire this up before I back it all the way out and verify there's no leaks, but otherwise this job is done.